Welcome, readers. Today on Book Chat, we are doing a super fun episode today. We are celebrating 4 years of doing this fantasy read-along. Of course, you don't want to miss the giveaways that we talk about toward the end of this episode. Get excited, grab a drink, and join us for this celebration. Stay tuned. Today's episode is sponsored in part by audiobooks.com. Audiobooks.com now has 175,000 titles and 1.2 million podcasts. New customers get 3 free audiobooks comprised of 1 premium credit and 2 VIP titles. Use our promo code SHELFADDICTION, spelled as one word, when you sign up at audiobooks.com. Again, our promo code is SHELFADDICTION. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Tamara Ford, and welcome to Book Chat here on the Shelf Addiction Podcast. Participate in this book discussion by joining the Facebook group Shelf Addiction Official. Talk about the series with us there, as well as other bookish topics. I hope to hear your thoughts on this book discussion. As always, you can find the 3 of us on Twitter and Instagram. The links for everything are below in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, please support this podcast by sharing it with some book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. That would really help me out, and I appreciate you for doing so. The uncut video version of this podcast is available now on Patreon. Join us there for exclusive videos, including this podcast after show. We get even more candid with what we have to say. So if you're interested in that at all, you'll need to come on over to Patreon and sign up. Before we get started, I have to issue a spoiler warning. This is a roundtable book discussion, so nothing is off limits. You've been warned. Welcome to today's oh-so-special 3 Bloggers, 1 Series celebration episode. We've got champagne, highs and lows, giveaways, and at the end, we'll be sharing our next fantasy series. So get excited. Yes. Yes. Joining me are my read-along co-host, Casey and Nicola. Welcome back again, ladies.
Hey, everybody.
Hello. So happy to be here.
Glad to have you, as always.
A special episode. Yeah.
Yes.
We are celebrating.
Woo!
Yes, we are celebrating. And so I think we should start off with drinks, you know, shots, but no shots, but we've got drinks. So if you hear some wrappers and some ice, because I've got my bottle on ice over here, I'm fancy. You know what we're doing. We're getting going.
Hop it, Nicola.
I'm sorry. What's that? I'm working on it. So
right.
Some of you may know I'm on the West Coast while the other ladies have been out of bed for a little longer than I have. I won't say how much. So I'm I left the drama for like our Patreon people are watching me right now to struggle with this cork and champagne, because my drink of choice for early morning celebrations, and by that I mean anytime before noon, really before 2, this works for any kind of brunch situation, is a mimosa. So here goes the champagne.
Oh, yay. And it wasn't even that loud.
It wasn't.
Oh, well, that's the mic. So I guess it wasn't as dramatic as I thought it might be. I've got a good sound suppression my microphone. So
that's
cheers.
Awesome.
Cheers.
I would make the ting noise if I had it. So I am drinking. Actually, it's not technically champagne because it's not from the Champagne region.
Oh, right.
You know, wine snobs will say.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's just sparkling wine.
Yes, I have a Brut sparkling wine by Dark Horse.
Ooh.
And I really love it because it's dry. I don't really like it too sweet. And I literally have a bucket of ice next to me. Like, look,
I can hear it.
My sister, when she got married,
nice.
There it is. When she got married, she had this bucket. And so when I told her what I was doing today, she's like, wait, I have a bucket you can put your champagne in so it doesn't get warm. I'm like, yes.
Perfect.
Yes. What about you, Casey? What do you have?
So I have the oh so lovely and oh so cheap Barefoot Bubbly, because it's like $10 and I'm I'm that cheap bitch. If it's $10, I'm buying it and I'm drinking it.
Girl, no shade. You gotta do what you gotta do. And sometimes the cheap stuff is the good stuff. Let's keep it real.
No, it's very sweet, very cheap, right up my alley. But I do want to show off my mug. It's a coffee mug. And it has
so
the three of us. And saying, yes, girl, yes!
Yes!
I am so much cuter on that mug than I am in real life.
We're all cute on this mug.
That's right.
And you can take this mug and buy it for yourself from the Shelf Addiction official, what's the name of it?
A merch store. It's
merch
on
store.
Public.
Thank you. I just totally brain farted there.
It's okay. The link is in the show notes. Grab your mug. It turned out real good. Unfortunately, you can't see it if you're not on Patreon, but maybe Casey will post a picture on Instagram.
I think I will. Post on Instagram.
Yes.
I'm drinking champagne out of a coffee mug.
I know. That's high class. That's what I'm talking about.
I also have coffee because I don't know how much of the champagne I can drink.
You have a good balance of orange juice in there, so it shouldn't be too rough, hopefully.
Well, I didn't bring... Yeah, I don't have the orange juice here, so as the level goes down, the wine it'll get topped off.
Yes.
I see you said the blind man. Have some coffee. Okay, good. We don't want her too tipsy. She might start selling or sharing trade secrets. I don't know. We'll find out.
Telling some truths.
Yeah.
Truth bombs.
So maybe we should share the story of why we're drinking champagne, since we picked this as our drink of choice to celebrate 4 years of doing this. Can you believe we've been doing this 4 years?
4 years. Little less for me, but still.
Yeah.
Damn, Tamara. 4 years.
I know. It doesn't seem like it's been that long.
It doesn't.
Time flies when you're reading good books, man.
Yeah. Good conversations, good company, good books.
That's like nothing.
Besties hanging out all the time, traveling to Seattle. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. You know, Casey, you tell the story so well. So let me let you tell the story.
Okay. Once upon a time in a land far, far away called Florida, we were at the Coastal Magic Book Convention. Tamara and I. And unfortunately, Nicola wasn't there. But during a late night party, there was lots and lots of free booze available. And Tamara and I and our friend Emily were standing around chugging that champagne because it was free. And as I said, if it's cheap and good, I'm drinking it. Free champagne. And we started talking about the amazing urban fantasy series Mercy Thompson by Patricia Briggs. Mm-hmm. And we'd all read the series. We loved the series. We were going on about Adam and Mercy and the bad guys and the plot and the pacing and just everything about it that we loved. And Tamara, smart, beautiful Tamara, was like, hey, what if we make a podcast about this? Because we love it and we want to keep talking about it and we could do a read along. And my drunk self went, yeah! And thus, 3 Bloggers, 1 Series was born.
Yes.
I want to specify that I was not under the influence when I agreed to do this partnership. I met Tamara at, was it Jackie's thing or Casey's thing? One of them.
I think we met at Jackie's first.
Jackie's first, yeah. So it was a little bit of a blur, but there was a conference in Michigan called Rust City. Was it just Rust City or Rust City Reads or something like that?
Maybe.
Rust City Book Conference, something like that. And it ran for 2 years. I want to say in 2015 and 2016, maybe 16 and 17. And then Casey had one that went in 2015 and
2017
and 2017. Mm-hmm. That sounds right.
Mm-hmm.
So the three of us were involved in both of those, along with Jackie from Literary Escapism, and we just all hit it off, and couldn't wait to. The conferences didn't continue on. They're pretty spendy for the small areas they were in, and that was sad. But this came out of it. So from my point of view, so it was just so much fun getting together and talking about books. And COVID put a hitch in our plan for a 2020 meetup. We were going to go to Avon KissCon in Chicago and meet there, but like many of you out there who love book conferences, we all kind of had to sit on our hands and maybe get on a virtual call with some of our favorite authors and just kind of stay remote this past year. I'm thinking this year is probably going to be more of the same, but maybe next year. Hopefully by next year we'll be able to do something. Yeah, cross our fingers for next year. Because, I mean, even if we don't do a book con per se, we have our own plans to get together anyway. So that's right. Yes. So, so here we are. That is how we came together. And I'm so thankful for you two. And it's been a joy. And
so thankful for you, Tamara.
A few more years of doing this. Until hopefully we'll never get tired. If we do, I don't know. Let's just hope not. So many books. I mean, at one book a month, we could go for a real long time.
Yeah, we could go forever.
As long as there's podcasts, we can still. We'll have something to read.
We'll go with technology. If something changes, we'll change.
We'll adjust. But podcasts aren't going anywhere, you guys. I read somewhere that there have been millions of new podcasts added in 2020. So people are at home. They're like, I don't know what to do. Let's start a podcast. So there are tons and tons of podcasts out there, and it's not showing any signs of stopping. So, yay. One thing I want to say about podcasting, for those of you who have never been on this side of the mic, Tamara does an amazing job of post-production with our discussions. She goes through and she takes out a lot of the hesitations, the long pauses. She makes sure the audio isn't scratchy and weird. I've listened to a few podcasts where that doesn't happen, and it really makes a huge difference. So if you're enjoying this podcast and you're wondering, why do they sound so much better than podcast X, Y, or Z? That's all our girl, Tamara.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
It's a lot of work. Yeah, it is. But I enjoy it. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. So let's just jump on in because we got tons of books to talk about. I guess we should start with the highs, right? Let's start on a good note. Since we've read so many series over the last 4 years, we thought it would be fun to kind of just talk about our most favorite of, those series. And we each have a favorite, or a most enjoyed, I guess. It may not be favorite, but you know what I'm saying. And we'll share it with you. Yeah, favorite. Okay, who wants to go first? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I'll go first. I looked back. I have a spreadsheet. So I went back to make sure that I wasn't leaving anything out. And it's a hard choice. We have read some really good authors. I'm going to pick the Arcana Chronicles by Krusty Cole. This is a YA fantasy. It's unfinished, which is still driving me a little bit crazy. I think the author has run into some health issues. A couple of her titles have been pushed back quite a bit. We read this in, I think, 2018. It's been a while ago. And when we read it, the last book was scheduled to come out in plenty of time for it to work with our schedule, and it's still not out. So that's been disappointing because there's a lot of loose ends that need to be wrapped up, and it really could make or break the series. But for our reading that we did, I really, really enjoyed that one. And it's funny because when we're picking books to read, you guys don't see this sort of behind the scenes stuff very much, but I am not a huge fan of YA in general. The other girls are kind of like, well, this one's YA, so Nicola's going to be like, so they very kindly try to rotate the YA a little bit and give me a break from it once in a while. But this is a YA series that I picked. But I was very familiar with the author from her Immortals After Dark series, and I really love Krusty Cole's voice and her action, and the stuff that makes it a YA book, the sort of high levels of angst and the love triangle that's going on in that series are very classic YA, but it's just so well done that I don't mind it so much. So I love the world building. I love the setup. I love the. It's just so unique. The premise about the apocalypse that they go through, and I'm still just on the edge of my seat, wondering how it's all going to get resolved in the end. So I just cannot figure out how she's going to do it. So I hope we get the last book.
Yeah,
and I
me too.
hope that it wraps everything up nice and clean. But that's been my favorite.
Okay. Well, I also enjoyed that series, although it's not my favorite, but it ranked pretty high for me. Even though during the discussion, I did kind of harp a little bit on the triangle and a couple other things. But when it came down to it, I did enjoy it. And I keep looking for the finale. I'm like, I want to know how it ends. I mean, that's like so important. I mean, that shows you how vested I am, that I actually want the end. If I was like, whatever, like that would be bad. But I want to know, who is it? Who does she pick? Who does she end up with? What happens?
I'm team try or bust.
Oh my God, girl.
Both of them. She needs to be. I love this series too. I absolutely love it. And yes, I did harp on Evie sometimes being a little silly. And some of the plot line world building stuff, I can poke holes into it. But hands down, I love this series. It's great. And yes, I'm team triad or bust. And I want this ending. And I want there to be a triad, or I will be so mad.
I might be mad. I don't know if they do that.
Mad. I don't think you guys understand. I will be mad if it's not a triad.
But honestly, I have my own theories of how the author will let Evie off the hook. And I think one of them will die. And then she'll end up with the other. So then she won't really have to make a choice. That
pisses me off so much. Yeah. I hate that trope with a burning passion.
Do not make a choice.
Yeah. Like that's such a fucking cop-out. Don't kill one of the people off just to close the triad. Like that's
yeah.
I digress. I'm sorry. I hate that.
Hey, I would bet $1 that's what's going to happen.
It's definitely what's going to happen, but let me have my triad dreams, please.
I still think you should write some fanfic or something. I mean,
and thinking about it, I have a real strong theory of who it's going to be now that you say it like that. But yeah. I hope it's not a letdown. It might be a letdown. When you wait so long for a finale. It was 2018 or 2019. I went back and checked my notes. We did most of it in 2019.
Well, and it's true. When you wait this long, you do have high expectations, and usually you're let down when you're waiting this long, but hopefully not. Let's cross the fingers. We will finish it here on the podcast. We will go back to it and finish it when it, eventually comes out, if it eventually comes out.
If it comes out and I'm disappointed, I will come on this podcast and cry, and I'll have a bottle of wine. I'll just keep drinking it as I cry.
Like, why? No.
Why did this happen? It'll be very cheap wine. You guys will laugh at me.
It'll be great. Yeah. Either way, it'll be great. We'll get entertainment out of it one way or another.
I do not have expensive taste in wine, so, as you guys know.
No, I mean, I don't either.
Cheap is good.
And the one time I got some really expensive wine was at like a work dinner, and the person that picked it claimed to be so knowledgeable about wine. That was the nastiest wine I ever drank in my life. And that's all I'm going to say. It was gross, and it was very expensive, but it was nasty. So I am not poo-pooing on cheap wine, okay?
I haven't been to one of these parties, but I've heard about them, where half the guests bring really expensive wine and half the guests brings like stupid cheap wine, like a $5 bottle of wine, and the other people bring like $100 bottles of wine, and you hide the labels, and then everybody drinks every wine and they say which one they like the best. 9 times out of 10, they like the cheaper wine better.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
That doesn't surprise
cheap wine is good.
Yeah, for sure.
Gets the job done.
Yeah, and plus it's more about pay. Okay, look, we'll have another after. We might have to after another time have a wine conversation because we're gonna get off topic.
Okay.
Okay, Casey, why don't you go next? I'll go last.
Okay. So my favorite pick, because we couldn't pick Mercy because, she started this whole thing and we all love Mercy. My favorite series was the Night Huntress series by Janine Frost. That was one of the first vampire series I read back in the early 2000s, and rereading it for this podcast, it still held up a decade later. It was still phenomenal. The storytelling was still great. Kat was still such a kick-ass, awesome heroine. Bones was so respectful. And there was consent stuff that I love that was happening back then too. And oh my God, this series. I just want to keep gushing about this series. If you haven't read Janine Frost, read Janine Frost. She's amazing.
Yeah, it's very good. And I love a strong heroine, and there's no scruples about it. Kat is definitely strong-willed, strong-minded, strong physically. She can go toe-to-toe with Bones, which is awesome.
Strong magically, like her powers.
Yeah, strong magically. Yeah, it's like... It's great. And I just love it. Yeah, I don't really care for when the guy is just so much stronger than the woman. It's kind of like boo, but
yeah, I feel the same. I love Nalini Singh's Side Changeling series, but I just could not get into her Angel series because of that, Tamara. The first few, people have told me that it equalizes in later books, but the first couple of books were just like the hero is this angel, and he's millennia old, and he's incredibly unfathomably powerful, and she's like this sort of newly hatched angel and other stuff, if I recall correctly. It's been a while, and just like he could smash her with a thought, and it just I didn't like it because of that, and yeah, anyway, I couldn't get into it because of that imbalance, and that's
that series.
Yeah.
But it takes a while, which I appreciate because, she starts off as human, and obviously, she's just a 20-something-year-old human, so she's not going to be stronger than him. But the series progresses over several years, and you keep coming back to them as the main couple of the book. And so you see her growing and getting stronger, and you see him, lightening up and opening his heart and becoming softer. And it's a very slow burn in that sense. Like they're in love, but the slow burn is the power dynamics. And I personally really love that.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I haven't read that one, but I don't like when it's so mismatched. And I can appreciate if it evens out at some point, but that power dynamic plays into other things for me. It's not just simply you're stronger than me. I feel like that weighs in different ways too, but maybe they balance, maybe they're great later. I don't know because I haven't read it, but in general, I like just strong women off GQ. I'd rather have a stronger woman than a weaker man. I mean, power wise, but a strong personality to keep up. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, hell yeah.
I wouldn't mind that. Long as he's not like a beta in attitude, he could be an alpha at heart, even though he's not as magically or physically strong. I don't mind that at all.
Alpha in the sheets, beta in the streets.
Hell yeah. Yes. So yeah, Cat and Bones is a solid, very solid, reliable series. And if you haven't read
that series,
do read it.
It's so good. And all the spin-off series, they're all really good too. I love all of them. I love all the short stories. Like it's just such a massive world. And I want to keep coming back to it. And later in 2021, Janine Frost is releasing a new Cat and Bones story, and I'm so excited for this. It's brand new stuff between them, and I'm just like, yes, give it to me. Give it to me right now.
Yeah, there was a great interview with her about that, how she said it was closed, and she's like, yeah, but that was done, and, things changed. So I really like the way she handled it.
I'm really curious to see who else is in the story with them. Like how long it's been. Is it a time jump? What's happening? I want to know all the things. Tell me now.
Yes. Tell me everything.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too.
Yeah.
Hopefully I can read it separately and I don't have to buy the anthology necessarily to read it. Hopefully I can find it somewhere on its own.
I don't know. She may do it later, but I think it's all one anthology at first.
It might be worth it. I don't know.
Cat and Bones are always worth it.
Yeah. So, I mean, talking about strong power couple, my favorite series has another strong, powerful couple, and that's the Hidden Legacy trilogy by Ilona Andrews. And this was my first time reading this author. I hadn't read anything else, any other series by them. Yeah, and I really like Nevada.
Welcome.
She is the best. She is the bomb.com. And Rogan's kind of hot too. Although the first book I was like, what's this problem? He tried to kidnap her. Oh my God. But he grew
a little bit
really
of Stockholm
quickly
in the beginning of that trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah. But he grew really quickly and I grew to like him as well. And I like them together.
In fairness, she it was not Stockholm, right? She never let him forget that. She brings it up every now and then just to dig it. Like, well, you chained me to your basement floor.
I mean, there's that, yes. And I don't blame her. Don't ever forget it. Don't ever forget what he's capable of, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think that is why she does so well with him, because she knows how dangerous he is. And he does do anything to protect her and hers because they are now his, as family. But come on, don't ever turn your back. You never know. He's the kind of character that will think he's doing it to protect you for your own good. And then you'll be back there like, what the fuck? Did we just talk about this? Like, But
what I love about a lot of Ilona Andrews' books is that in this one is a really good example of it. When you come into it, Rogan is at the peak of his power. He is possibly the most powerful man in the entire world magically. And, financially, he's got the financial means to back it all up. And Nevada is like, she's strong, but she doesn't know it. She is like a newborn, and he helps. What I love about those books is that he helps her realize her power. He helps her. He doesn't fight it. He's not jealous about it. He's not a jerk about it. He doesn't have a moment's hesitation to make her stronger and to give her the tools she needs to become as strong as she possibly can. And I love that as a metaphor, and I love it in the literal sense because the powers are so cool and interesting. But that's the kind of partner, that's the way you want an alpha male to be. And
he does it in the coolest way. It's not like this, you're so young and naive and dumb, let me help you. It's like, here, let me send you some books. Let me tell you, let me help you, but not like in this, I have to show you everything because you're so stupid kind of way. So he's very secure in himself. Which allows him to like help her like that. And a lot of guys, even these characters, I think a lot of these characters in these books wouldn't have the backbone to like help her grow. I mean, she is so strong. Like people fear her. She is so strong.
Yeah. I mean, Bones does it for Kat instantly too. Like right in the beginning of book 1, he's training her. And then going back to Nalini in the Archangel series, that's exactly what he does too. He's like, okay, you have these powers, you're a newborn, let me help you, let me teach you, let me help you grow so you're just as strong as me.
I mean, even Bones, he went hard on his training. I mean, they went blow for blow, literally. He's like, fight me, see what you can do, let's do this.
So like, Cat and Bones, you mean?
Yeah, Cat and Bones. That was like dramatic.
Very
but
physical.
I liked it.
Yeah. Well, the first time I noticed the trope with Ilona was actually in their Edge series, which I don't think was ever as popular as any of the other stuff that they've done. But that was the series that sort of seduced me into the Ilona Andrews world. And the same thing happened there. But Tamara, the hero was like this snotty, pretentious dude that like has a comeuppance, and it's pretty funny to watch. And it's written in a way that makes you laugh and also makes you hate him a little bit. But,
no.
yeah, the world is set up where there's kind of like this parallel world that's sort of like traditional swords and sorcery. There's like a knight, a knighthood kind of vibe, and but it's magical, right? And so the hero sort of comes through the veil or whatever, and lands on her doorstep, and he's just like this aristocratic asshole, and she's living sort of a subsistence life in the rural swamps. I don't know if it's Louisiana, but it's a swampy kind of place. And anyway, I won't go on anymore about it. But she does that trope. They do that trope so well, and I just love it.
Well, I think also what I liked about Ilona Andrews is, to be honest, there are not a lot of two-writer authors that I like. It takes a lot for me to like it. And their writing is just so seamless. It's so smooth and easy. It's not like you have these blatant cuts where you can tell where different people are writing. So they get bonus points from me for that, because it felt like a author, one person.
They are the perfect writing team. They really are.
Yeah.
I think they've said on their blog that when they do fight scenes, they sometimes block it out together. Like they go through the motions. I think that's I've seen those, and they're like just the most everyday looking physically people. They're not like ninjas. And just I kind of picture them blocking through some of these fight scenes, and it makes me smile.
Can you imagine like a couple just like trying to beat each other down?
Come at me,
stuff,
bite my throat.
Like, come on, push me down, do it.
Okay,
if that leads to other things, that could be fun. We haven't talked about our favorite series yet that brought us together, and that's Mercy. So we can talk a little bit about that a little bit. Mercy Thompson.
Mercy. Talk about a kick-ass heroine.
Yes.
Yeah, she's bold, and she doesn't do a lot of things where my eyes are rolling. Like, oh God, why she? Sometimes I do that a lot, but not for Mercy too much. She's got her stuff together for the most part. Well,
I mean, Mercy does that heroine thing where she goes off alone to fight the bad guys because she wants to protect her crew, right? I think she's doing that less now that there's 16 books in the series, but that happened a lot in the first, say, half of the series. And those sometimes did get an eye roll from me. Like, come on, let him know what you're doing. At least if you can't wait for him to show up, at least leave some breadcrumbs.
Yeah, early
on. One of the later ones, like she called him and left a voicemail to be like, "Hey, I'm gonna go fight this guy. Yeah. Come find me if you can."
Yeah, see you at dinner.
When you're done with your meeting, if you can't find me, this is where I was.
Yeah.
She's
early on though, that was warranted because they weren't together right away. So she didn't really have that obligation right away to him, I don't think. And it was kind of murky in the first couple of books as far as them anyway.
That's true. She was still deciding between him and the other guy.
Talk about a triangle that didn't end in a death.
I know. Yay, but that triangle was weird. I mean, that whole thing where she's connected to both of them, that whole thing was kind of strange to me. I'm surprised that was able to fly, in the relationship she's in. But
I wonder if she knew where she was going when she wrote those couple of books, or she was sort of feeling out how the characters were going to develop. I mean, who could have envisioned that whole world that came out after book 3?
Yeah.
I got the sense, and it's been a while since I read the first couple of books, but I really got the sense that the author didn't have a preconceived idea of which of the two ends of the triangle were going to come out on top.
Mm-hmm. That wouldn't surprise me because the vampire seemed like he had good chances for a minute. Mm-hmm. It did seem that way, but when it came down to it, he didn't have a chance. Not really.
Yeah, the vampire's not human enough, right? So, was it a vampire? I thought it was.
Stefan.
Yeah. So was he the other? I thought it was
no, it was Adam and Samuel.
Samuel, yeah,
triangle.
But
right.
Samuel
then
wasn't
Stefan
really.
was like.
But Samuel wasn't really a choice to me ever. I feel like from day one, Samuel wasn't really a choice. Like Samuel thought he was a choice, but I don't think Mercy thought he was a choice.
She kind of thought so. I don't think she really acknowledged herself that she didn't want him to be a choice because he was such a huge part of her childhood. And then now that she's an adult and maybe wanted children, he could have been something, but I don't know.
Yeah, full disclosure, I didn't reread the first few books because you guys were already down to book like 6 or 7, I think, when I joined. So I didn't have time to go back and read like 6 books before that first call.
I guess I just kind of didn't consider Samuel myself, so I just disregarded him pretty quickly. I really did. I mean, I felt like Stefan was more competition than Samuel was.
Maybe you're right. I mean, maybe the setup where he basically wanted her because he thought she could have children, right?
Yeah,
that was the big plot point there. So that's a pretty big giveaway that's not going to be the right answer, I guess.
She was in love with him though. Like back when she was 16, she was in love with him and she was going to run away with him. And so I still think she had some of those feelings and she just had to process through those feelings because, now she's an adult. Technically, she would be okay with having children now. And he's back and those emotions are there. And she just wants to see.
Well, don't get me going on Samuel. Because, he was not a child. She was a child. So,
we're not touching that.
But that's why I'm like, Samuel, no, next. It's not you. Next.
Well, that is kind of a weird thing that you have to deal with, or that you frequently see come up with really long-lived or immortal characters, right? It's like there is a point where they're an adult and the love interest is a child and they're watching them grow up and like how do you make that not gross? And we talked about that for the Deborah Harkness series with Gallowglass, right?
Yeah. I don't know if you can make it not gross unless it's 100% platonic until the human person is completely of age. I just don't believe 500-year-old person, 300-year-old person, 100-year-old person should be trying to eyeball a 16-year-old or 15-year-old. I just don't think that it can jive with me at all.
I think that when it's framed up like a genetic match or a arranged marriage kind of thing where they're looking at the two families and saying we should join these families, if they're looking at the individual and saying, ooh, she's cute, that's not okay.
Yeah.
But it doesn't bother me as much if it's dispassionate, right? If it's about the it looks good on paper kind of arrangement.
Yeah. But that's the whole thing in those situations. I think they're still like this is you're destined to do this. But guess what? You don't have to worry about it till you turn 18 or 19 or whatever the stipulation is. They're not going off and marrying off. Well, they shouldn't be marrying off 15-year-olds. They shouldn't, but in my opinion, that's my little 2 cents, but I don't know. But that's kind of why I just X Samuel out. I mean, to me, I just never saw him in Mercy ever. I just never saw him as competition, even though she had said feelings according to the writing. I don't care. I know what's best. And so does the author because she went my way.
Yes. I mean, I was Team Adam from the moment he walked onto the page. Don't get me wrong. I love Adam. Always Team Adam. But I could kind of see those emotional growth that Mercy needed to go through. But yeah, when you frame it like here's a 1,000-year-old man looking at a 16-year-old girl, it's like, yes, let's have sex. And I'm just like, no.
But if you remember, that's why Bran stopped that too. He put a stop to that. He was like, no.
Nope, we're done. We're done.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think Adam and Mercy are great together, but he also does a little bit of what she does. So you know how Mercy goes off and tries to be the problem solver? He wants to solve things and not tell her about it.
That's
which is
absolutely.
Well, he's the pack alpha, right? He's used to doing that.
Yes, but he doesn't need to do that anymore. And actually, if we remember later books, he's very sick because of that. Because he chose to not say anything, I'll handle it. He turned into a fucking monster, basically. I mean, what? But, you know, I won't get too far into it because that's like spoilers and like we'll have to go down a whole trail of things that led up to that. But, you know, you try to do stuff on your own, control stuff on your own, not saying things. No good can come of that. Have we not learned? All of you, both of you.
One of the things I really love about the setup or the world building in that series is the way he sets up his mate as being an equal alpha, right? She is not his beta. She is another pack alpha with equal standing. I really I don't know if it's actually true. I think if it came down to like she wanted one thing and Adam wanted something else, there would be problems. But as far as the rest of the pack is concerned, they have equal status and equal footing. I really like that.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess we don't need to dig into the weeds, but there was a clear reason why he did that, and he's very smart for doing it.
Yes.
Yeah. So he's got brains, he's got brawn, he's got looks, he's a full package. I'll take him if you don't want him.
Got everything. This makes him want to reread Mercy again. I love this series so much.
And I feel like I could reread it at any time and I would not be like, oh,
there's so many books though.
There are. It's a commitment. It's like, oh my gosh. But like sometimes though, when the new book comes out, I do want to backpedal and read for myself, read the book before just so I can remember, what we're heading into again, just so I don't, because, sometimes I lose the details, especially in the later books. So
yeah. Because I've reread the first 4, like maybe 5 times now. And the last 5 I've read like once or twice. Yeah. So you definitely need to reread the later books more. They also want to say the spin-off series with Charles is just as good as Mercy's series.
Charles and Anna are bomb. I love them.
I don't know why I have resisted that. Maybe I just don't want to take away from the main series. I don't know.
No, it's so good and it ties in, and Charles is just, he's so amazing. Talk about a hero who's super fucking powerful, but then turns around and helps his mate become just as powerful in her own right. Like, yeah. Charles, I love Charles almost as much as I love Adam. He's definitely better than his brother and his father, hands down.
Charles is a good guy, hands down.
Charles is the best. I love him.
Maybe we should pick that as one of our series.
Huh?
Maybe we should pick that as one of our series.
We could.
Well, the new book comes out next month.
Yeah, and I read the opening chapter, I think, that Patricia Briggs posted. Did you read it? It was like on her Facebook, like the whole
Not
chapter.
Yet.
And I'm like, oh, it starts out interesting. I'm like, what's her face? Layla, is that her name? The Maroc's wife. They're out on a shopping trip. And I'm like, oh, God. And Anna's like, why am I here? Why do I have to do this?
Poor Anna. Oh, God.
But I'm like, but she's there to keep the peace and get the new person to open up. That's her duty as a, Omega. She's like, okay. But it's so great. I'm like, I'm excited now. I'm like, I got a glimpse and now I want to devour it. I'm like, no, just one chapter. Why?
Well, there's only 6 full-length books.
Yeah, but I don't know how much further that goes. Do we?
True.
I mean, we could be carrying, like for Mercy, we're carrying this on forever.
4 years later. 5 years, because there's going to be another book next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like there isn't one for this year. There isn't a Mercy Thompson book this year.
Yeah, she usually does every other year. So one year it'll be Alpha and Omega. The next year it'll be Mercy.
Yep.
So I do enjoy the Alpha and Omega books.
They're so good.
But Mercy is the original. I mean,
The OG.
The OG. Yeah. And I mean, I love so many characters in that pack. Like, that pack is serious. I love so many characters in that pack for a lot of different reasons, even though some of them are assholes, but I still like them for different reasons.
They have depth and they have character. And even if they're a bitch to Mercy, she understands why they're doing it, and she respects
Honey.
Yeah. Call him out. She understands and she respects it, and then she turns around and fucking plays them until they look like fools, and she just walks away and smiles, and I fucking love it.
Or she recruits them and they become an ally.
Yeah.
That's my favorite thing about Mercy, is how many allies she has, and how we've talked about that in the podcast a number of times. It's just the way she, it's like diversity in action, right? She pulls in all of these different races and different beings with different powers, and she makes them want to help her and want to work together. And they each bring something really unique to the table. And instead of, being afraid of it or being scared or looking down on it, she's like, okay, how does this help us?
Yeah. And even with all the magical things going on, I feel like Mercy is a relatable character to us normal people, because she can even manage a stepdaughter and a bitch of an ex-wife with grace. She take that bitch down and she don't even break a sweat, but she's generally doing it without embarrassing herself. But sometimes she goes a little far, but other than that, she has learned how to kind of like play along with Krusty's bullshit, but not like, you know what I mean? Because the whole pack, they still buy into her. I'm like, why are you dummies believing her? What is wrong with you people?
Because she's a weak human woman, and as soon as she starts crying, you have to protect her.
But somehow Mercy manages to like navigate that and get through it. And I'm like, oh, that's relatable, man. I mean, my husband doesn't have an ex-wife, but I can imagine what it would be like. Because I'd be like, man, you're good. I would have did XYZ to Krusty. She'd never show her face again. But Mercy is better than I.
Yes, better than all of us. But she still has those thoughts. She's not a Mary Sue. She's like, but she just comes up with, she saves face. I don't know. That's possibly one of the most difficult things she has to navigate, because she doesn't have the pack at her back on that one, right?
And she doesn't have Adam either. Adam falls crocodile tears so easily.
And they have a child together, so they can't just like cut this person out of their life.
I don't know. I feel like that's a whole nother conversation. But I mean, Jessie is older. She about to be in college. At what point you don't really need to deal with the ex-wife anymore? Your daughter, you deal with her directly.
So once the kids are in college, well, I guess and I'm leveraging a friend of mine's situation who's married to a person with a very acrimonious ex. And it's hard, man. Just in the mortal world, right? It's constant money drain. It's constant lawyers. It's constant playing the kids against each other. And like granted, I only see one side of it. But the stuff that this woman has done has been pretty harsh and has made the quality of life for my friend, it made a significant negative impact on their life for the last, 15 years.
Yikes.
So, but once the kids are in college, it's like, okay, now I have to deal with this kid who's been spoiled and raised in a way that I don't approve of, and raised in ways that I would not have done, and is now like, thinks poorly of us, thinks that, there's all these things going on with the kid that you can try to counteract, or you can just try to be like, kind of back off. And it's interesting because, the parents' influence is still there, but now you're just dealing with the kid. And in the case of this book, Jessie's got a pretty good head on her shoulders. So there's not sort of that element that they're dealing with. But yeah, I mean, Krusty is just so entitled. She'll be back.
Oh, she's always coming back. Unless she dies, she'll always be back.
I mean, it was never really about Jessie.
Will appear.
Yeah, I mean, I brought Jessie up, but it's never really been about Jessie, has it? It's always been about her and
Adam
and needing Adam's protection.
Yikes. Ooh, okay, y'all know we love this book. You gotta check it out. If you have not, you definitely should.
Guys.
Like yesterday.
Yes.
Okay, I think actually this is a great time to take a quick break. Check out the sponsors. When you support them, you support us. So definitely click those links.
Get one of those mugs. I'm going to get one of those mugs.
Yes, get a mug. And when we come back, we'll do our lows. We'll talk about the giveaway, and then we'll share our next series. Stay with us. Today's episode is brought to you by the Shelf Addiction merch store. Check out all the bookish t-shirts, notebooks, mugs, and more. Don't miss out on these original designs, perfect for any book nerd. Support the podcast and visit shelfaddiction.com/merch and pick up your next favorite bookish item. Welcome back, guys. We will continue on and we will start off with our lows of the last 4 years. These are the ones that we might not have enjoyed that much for whatever reason.
There's been a few.
There's been a couple. Yes, there has. So maybe we'll work in reverse this time. I'll go first. Mine's was the Realm Enforcers series by Rebecca Zanetti. Unfortunately, this just did not hit it with me in any kind of way. And I think I was real generous with some of the 3 stars that I gave. I was real generous because it was just not the business on so many levels. The odd sex places, the hurry, run from danger. Wait, let's have sex against the wall. Yeah. Okay, run. I just can't. I cannot. I just can't.
The hero comparing his lover to a horse.
Yeah. Ew.
No.
I can't.
There was one book that didn't have an ending to it at all. There were so many plot holes, so many inconsistencies. As an editor, I just wonder where her editor was because, oh boy, I had some questions about those plot lines.
And I mean, even the heroes, dude, they weren't that sexy to me. They were supposed to be sexy, especially this first guy. Wasn't he like Irish or something? Like from Dublin. And I'm like, I don't care anything about it. I don't care.
The brogue doesn't do anything for you.
Not in this case.
Yeah, it was definitely weak. There was stuff that I liked about it. It was definitely over the top. I think the weird sex stuff was intended to underline the fact that they were supernatural people. I think, that they didn't feel they didn't have sort of mortal limitations. The one scene that cracked me up was they were having sex out on the porch, I think, in like below zero in a blizzard or something. And there was a scene where she like whips her hair around and it's crusted with ice,
No.
I will never forget that. And I, it's over the top for sure. I didn't hate it as much as you guys did. I do like paranormal romance. And I think
paranormal romance. I just hate this.
I know there's a tradition of over the top crazy sex, and
Megan Frost is over the top crazy sex, and she does it well. They have sex while they're flying in the air. And I buy that a lot better than anything in this Monster series.
I'm not going to try to defend it anymore. It's crazy. It's crazy shit.
Yeah.
Crazy shit.
In the right mood, it can be fun.
I guess. I don't know. I mean, you guys have to, maybe you should read it for yourself and go back and listen to these podcasts.
Read one book.
Read one book. Go back and listen to that one podcast and listen to me and Casey drag that fucking book for 45 minutes. But
and that's kind of fun too, right? Sometimes.
Yeah. But we were very nice about it. We tried to be, but I'm just saying.
You guys should see Casey's face right now.
Too much alcohol, not enough food.
Join the Patreon so you can watch the video because it's worth it.
It's worth it. Yes, it is. But yeah, that was my worst, y'all. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got to say. I do not recommend. Do not recommend. Okay.
If you're in the mood for a hate read, though.
Yeah.
Yes, a good hate read. It would be a good hate read.
Yeah, it would. Actually, that would make a great reading vlog if you do vlogs and you like to do reading vlogs, because every time you come across something crazy, you can record yourself in that reaction to that whatever crazy moment that is. You would have lots of class A material.
Live tweet.
Live tweet,
and then tell
whatever.
us. Tag us in that and show us, and we will validate you in your reaction.
Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
100%. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, Casey, what about you? What was your do not recommend?
So my least favorite series is a highly, highly acclaimed series that just about everybody I've ever talked to has loved. And it is the Grisha series by Leah Bardot. I fucking hated this series. I am sorry. The reason I picked this as my least favorite is because as a podcast, we created Casey's favorite plot hole because of this series.
Yeah.
That segment came into existence because there are so many plot holes that I had to pick a favorite one to just bitch about for 5-10 minutes. Like, there's so many goddamn plot holes.
Yeah.
And everybody who I've ever talked to who's read this loves it. They rave about it. They say it's the best series ever. If you love
Not me, I agree with you.
Go
Not
for
me.
it. Like, I can understand how it's kind of different. I think it's a little Russian, if I'm not mistaken. Like, it's different in that sense. There's some different characters, but good God, there are too many fucking plot holes. I cannot with this series. I just cannot.
And I mean, like, not even being funny. If you said, Tamara, what was the first book about? I'm be like, well, let me go back and I don't remember exactly.
There was a ship and something about it being dark.
Yeah.
It's like book 2. Book 1 is, she finds out that she has the shadows, and then she gets whisked away, that she sits in the house for like half the book and nothing happens.
Yeah.
And,
right. And then she meets the old woman, and
yeah.
And then there's that dark guy who kind of likes her, and she maybe likes him, but she's totally in love with her friend. And
who doesn't seem to like her, and he's like in his own world.
So that was like the kind of YA that really drives me up a wall, right? So I was a little bit, when we rated it, I think we held back a little bit when we talked about these books, right? It's hard to like downgrade a series for being what it is, right? It's very YA. It's got that triangle. It's got the angst. It's got the teenagers being stupid with each other.
Learning that you're not nothing. You're actually super powerful, and then trying to figure out how that power works. And then you spend 3 books.
And the bad guy tries to seduce you, and it's semi-successful for the first book until you figure out that he's really bad.
She was going for it, dummy. She was going for it.
Yep.
She was.
So, I was not a fan, but I didn't want to downgrade it for being what it was, right? Because I don't love YA, so I didn't want to bash it for being YA. Now, being YA with tons of plot holes and inconsistent characters is a different thing, but I held back a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I think
at least with Krusty Cole, yes, she had world-building plot holes that I could just, poke a hole through, and the whole thing would tear like tissue paper. But I loved the rest of the book. I could, turn a blind eye to all of her crap. With the Grisha series, I can't. I could not. I cannot. I will not. It is.
Like, I cannot.
I cannot.
Well, it was only 3 books, and there was kind of a epilogue type spin-off thing that I guess they're making a movie out of. Did any of us read that 6 of Crows?
Nope.
No. So they're making
that tells you something.
TV show.
But that tells you something, right? We invested 3 months of reading, and they're like, "Oh, there's another one," and we're like, "Pass."
She wrote a book about that King character, and he was one of my favorite characters, even though he's like whole character was this big, and I'm holding my thumb up like.
Yes.
Anyway, he was basically non-existent, and I thought about reading that book, but I have not read that book, and I don't know if I ever will read that book.
Yeah, I remember it was a gold cover with like I think it was called The King or something. Yeah, or Scar. Yeah, something.
Something with scars because he got mauled in the middle of the book, and I kind of felt bad. Like he was my favorite character, but he was so tiny and insignificant to everything else.
Oh my God, I don't remember any of those characters' names. I don't remember.
He was like a happy-go-lucky. He was like a happy-go-lucky character that was hiding his political ambition. I can't remember if he was very powerful magically, but he was hiding his political aspirations by being kind of the doofy, optimistic guy. But he was an ally to our
legitimately
main
optimistic.
Huh?
Wasn't he like a prince who was legitimately optimistic and then had his whole world shattered?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, but I think that's correct. But he also, I think he was acting, maybe I'm remembering wrong, but I think he was acting a little bit more clueless than he really was to keep his father from, I don't know, putting him in a penalty, but to keep his father from sidelining him in I don't know.
Yeah.
So many people love and rave about this book, and they tell me it's their favorite series ever, and I just smile and say, good for you.
Why? No. Why?
Let's talk about something else.
Yeah, I don't understand it, but not every book is for everybody.
That's right. That's right.
I'm not going to trash your yum. If you love it, love it. I'm just going to go read something else.
Yep.
When it started out, I did like the Russian setting or the pseudo Russian setting. I think that gave it a little bit of a fresh start for a lot of people. It had that medieval vibe, but it was still a little different from what you were used to. And so I think that attracted a lot of people. It was just kind of the setting was a little bit outside of the ordinary, and yet still not terribly global, I guess is what I'm looking for. It's still European. It's just with more furs,
Yeah. Something, yeah. But okay. Nicola, what was your do not recommend?
Well, the Zanetti was right in the pocket there.
You recommended that too.
I know. I keep defending it. That was my pick. Zanetti has written books that I like, but these were cumulatively not good. The one that I picked is The Others by Anne Bishop, which was also my recommendation, and I loved the first book. I really did. But I was so disappointed with how the series progressed. It just went from this so much potential, such an interesting premise, to like this really wimpy, meh land where nobody did anything, and there was a lot of
nothing changed.
Well, there's a lot of connective tissue to the book that just didn't hold up. Things that were. It's a book that relied a lot on logistics, right? Which is a boring thing, but it's like, how do you get goods from one end of the country to the other under this particular kind of technological premise? And it just failed so hard on that. Every chapter had something new and felt stupid to me about the trains were run, but then the trains wouldn't run, and cell phones would work, but then they didn't work. And email, you had email, but you didn't have computers. And it was just like, it was
weird.
It just felt really like you started off with this. And if you start off with a shitty, weak book and the rest of the books are shitty and weak, that's okay, that's your problem for reading the rest of them. But when you start off with like something awesome seeming, and then it just goes into total limp territory, it was very disappointing for me.
I mean, honestly, that generic statement, like in like a lion out like a lamb type of thing, it totally applies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if she got herself into a world that she didn't know how to keep up with, or if she had something else going on and just was just phoning it in for the last 4 books. I don't know what happened, but But yeah, the ending was super disappointing, and the books just went straight downhill. Started off strong, and every book was worse than the last book.
Don't even get me started about that fucking kiss at the end. Like, that was the fucking... I want to just strangle somebody. Like, really?
We went from hand holding to nothing for $3 and then that goddamn kiss. Oh, I'm still pissed about that. But yeah, no, I was in the same boat. Book 1 was a 5-star for me, and then it just progressively went down a star each book until it was 1 star because I hated it so much at that point.
Yeah, and some series will have a weak book or two in the middle, and so I still was holding out hope there for a while, but like it was terrible. Like the ending just was, I was so mad that I had invested that many hours in the series.
Oh my God. Hours reading, hours talking about it. Oh my God.
And editing for you, Tamara.
Yes.
Yeah.
And every time I had to edit that, because, I listen to it a lot when I'm editing for hours. And it's like, oh, geez. Oh God. Will it end? Just kill me now. But
maybe we need a new policy, which is that if we're all hating something by book 3, we should agree to drop the series.
Jump ship.
Yeah. Because we've been completionists on this podcast, right? If we start something, we finish it. But both with Zanetti and the others, by book 3, we were like, this is stinky.
It was almost like, okay, get ready to hate another book. Yes. I mean, if it's that damn bad, we might need to consider it. Like, ooh. But, if it's just one of us, maybe we should continue.
Yeah. No, but what about our listeners? Everybody listening, do you like our hate reads? Do you want us to complete a series? Do you want us to give up and start something better and new?
I mean, they can be fun to talk about, but it's still a pretty big, my policy about blogging has always been like, if I read something and I hate it, I may or may not blog about it, just because like I might have something to say, but it might also just be like, I don't want to put any more emotional or mental effort into this garbage, and I'm just going to go on and try to find something I do like.
Honestly, that is how I treat my shelf bites. That's why there haven't been that many, because I really only want to do the shelf bites now on the books that I genuinely love and want to rave about. I don't want to waste my time trying to write up something on a book that just wasn't that good or average at best. So,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And that's why I always cringe a little bit when people say, well, if a reviewer only has high ratings, then I don't believe anything they say. I'm like, well, I don't rate everything that I read, and I leave off the stuff that I really dislike for the most part. I mean, sometimes I hate it enough to get on and rant about it, but I don't review everything I read. And I would rather talk about something I love than talk about something that was weak or even something that was just because what do you say about a book that was just okay? Like,
well, you know what? To that note, though, I do rate books that I don't necessarily like or that were just okay on Goodreads. And I will put one or two sentences. I'm not writing a full-on review, but I'll write 1 or 2 sentences as to why it was meh or no. So like, not only so I can remember, but so that people that follow me, they know at least the reason why. I'm not going to spend 20 minutes writing a review, but I'll write a couple sentences.
I need to start doing that. But, when you talk about how much work it is to edit a podcast, back when I was blogging regularly, I put 3 to 5 hours into every blog post that I wrote. And especially when it's a bad one, I felt this like really weird pressure to justify it and to make sure that I wasn't being like mean or anything, and just to give kind of legitimate reasons on why I rated it poorly. So I felt a lot of pressure to be fair, and because if you're going to rave about something, you can just rave about it, right? But if you're going to drag something, then it feels like you need. To me, I always felt like I needed to say, well, it's because plot and because holes and because characters did things I didn't this and this, which I find unacceptable, or whatever. But it's a lot of work. It was a lot of work for me to write a negative review. So a lot of, if you just go by my blog, it's mostly sunshine.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I get because like how you already explained, you put a lot of work into it either way.
Yeah.
Me, not so much. I'm like, I didn't like the shit. Here's why, period. Move on.
Yeah, I never developed those chops. And it's probably why my blog has been pretty much dead for the last 2 or 3 years.
I try to include at least 1 or 2 things that I liked. Like there are like the Prince guy in William Bardot's series. I liked him. He was great. You know, I contemplated for half a second reading his book. Am I going to? Maybe in 10 years, if I have absolutely nothing else in my life to read, I might pick it up.
And how bad the series has faded far enough in the back of your mind that you won't be willing to try it again.
I'll be like, what was that? I don't know. Let's pick it up and read it. Oh, we're walking away. Like, if there's something I like, I do try to say, this is what worked for me. This is what didn't work for me. And this is why I hate it.
Yeah. Yep.
But that's why sometimes just rating with stars is fine too. I mean, you don't have to write a review on everything. And I do stand by, not everything is it for everybody. And I feel like the general public should understand that. Authors and publishers should understand that. And I don't have to explain myself to you and justify why I gave it a 2-star or a 1-star.
Yep.
Should be fucking happy I rated it at all. And that's just the truth of it. And I mean, not to be rude, but really, if I'm going to spend the time, even 5 minutes, you should be what's that? What is it? They always say like
all publicity
is good publicity. Yeah. Like,
I don't know, man. I do feel like if you're going to review something, like leaving a star rating is not a review, right? A review discusses.
No, it's not.
It discusses why. And it has some rationale behind it.
No, but those, like I said, that is what I do feel like that is what Goodreads is for. Because if you look at the ratings, they'll have 150,000 ratings, for example, and maybe 200 reviews. It's not a 1-to-1.
Right.
So, and I feel like that is the place to do it. You don't have to. I would not do that on my blog. I think that's crazy. I would not. I just wouldn't add it on my blog. It won't appear. But if I want to remember it for whatever, I'll just throw a couple of sentences on, give you a slight explanation, rate it, and move on. So that's why it's a good idea. If you haven't followed me on Goodreads, you should. Because if you want to know, like seriously, not everything I read hits the blog or the podcast. I read a lot of stuff that doesn't appear here. And some of it's okay. And you'll find out that it's okay by seeing my different social media things. You know what I mean? I just don't feel like I owe that level of work for everything that I read. And I'm okay with sharing it across the board.
Yeah, I guess the difference is between your philosophy and mine is that I just typically don't do anything if it was meh, right? So if it's a 2 or a 1 or there was some really stupid shit happening, I might be motivated to talk about it. If it's a 4 or 5 and I want everybody I know to read it, then I might be motivated to talk about it. If it's a 2.5 to 3.5 and it was not my thing and it wasn't really that terrible, but it wasn't really good, and I just don't really have anything I loved or anything I really hated. Like, I don't even know how to talk about that. I used to talk about it all. I used to blog a lot of those kind of things, but after so many years, you get kind of tired of, I feel like I need to say things in a unique way every time. And I've run out of different ways to say it was a 3. It was okay.
Yeah.
It was okay. I didn't hate it. Didn't love it.
Yeah. I get that. I get it.
Even with authors I love, long running series, like sometimes I stop reviewing because I don't have anything fresh to say. Like, I love Nalini Singh's Side Changelings. I read every single book. I love every single book pretty much for the same reasons. Like, I love the characters. I love the family networks. I love the way she portrays the differences between the 3 races. But I don't know that I have anything fresh to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, I get that too. I mean, that can happen with long running series. I mean, especially... But I can see myself writing a review of something like there was an about face 10 books in or something. And I'm like, what? What But, like, I don't know how long it's been since I've reviewed a J.R. Ward book. On Goodreads, I just star them. I don't say anything because we're so far into the world. What's the point? What's the point? If you're reading it that far in,
Right.
You clearly like it as some, unless something drastic happens,
And if you're not, don't start here.
Don't start here. Yeah. Don't start at 12. Don't start at 12. Yeah. So, we get it. We know what's up. Okay. So let's share about the giveaways. So we have fun giveaways for this celebration, guys. So because we love these 3 series so much, we shared earlier, you can enter to win a copy of the 3 series we talked about, which are Hidden Legacy series, Arcana series, and Night Huntress series.
Night Huntress, Janine Frost. Woo!
Yeah, so you can win the first book in those series, not the whole series, the first book. So if you're new to them and you want to dip your toe in and see if it's for you, this is the perfect time to enter because you can win up to 3 times, I think. Should we let them win more than once if one person is drawn? I don't know.
We're giving away 1 book at a time, not a bundle. Yes?
Right.
Yeah,
so it's one book at a time.
Okay.
So you can enter 3 giveaways, and they're on shelfaddiction.com. You'll find a blog post with 3 raffle copters, and you have to follow us, all 3 of us, to enter. You have to, and there's a bunch of additional optional things that you can do to earn more points, like join Shelf Addiction Official, or, share a review on Apple Podcast or whatever, so there are optional ways for you to earn more points. But the baseline is that you follow all 3 of us on our preferred method of being followed. And then you're in just like that.
Awesome.
Yeah. And you will be able to have your chance at winning one of these 3 awesome things. So enter right away. I think it's going to end on March 31st will be the end date. So yeah,
however many Frost fans.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's
well, if you're not a fan, you should be, right?
Yes.
So,
if you're not a fan, you should be.
Yes. And I think the only stipulation we have, unfortunately, at this time, unless you choose an ebook, if you choose an ebook, an Amazon ebook, it can be anywhere in the world. But if you want like a paperback or something, it has to be in the continuous United States. It has to be in America where we can send it without paying a bunch of extra shipping fees. But other than that, if you pick an ebook, we can send it to Europe, Japan, wherever you want to read it, wherever. It's fine.
Yes.
Okay.
Wherever Amazon ships.
Wherever. Yes. Wherever where it doesn't cost us any extra money. And yeah, that's that. So that's fun. Okay. So if you have any questions on that, of course, feel free to reach out to me or Casey or Nicola and ask questions, but it should be self-explanatory. Again, it's on the blog. And last but not least, let's talk about what we're talking about next. What's next on our agenda? Casey, you want to kick it off since it's your pick?
Oh, next, we're going back to YA. I know Nicola's favorite. It's a YA fantasy series. Yes, thumbs up. We are reading An Ember in Ashes by Sabah Tahir. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right, and I apologize if I'm not. But I have had this book recommended to me many, 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 many times over. I've never read anything she's written, so I'm going in completely blind. I want to throw that out there. I know it's my pick. If I hate it, I will tell you I hate it. But I'm going in completely blind here. I read the first chapter and I really liked it. So I hope that's indicative of a good series. It's 4 books long. It's YA. It's fantasy. It's kind of dark. It's kind of gritty. And I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. So fingers crossed, I love it. But if I don't, I will tell you. And we'll have more hate reads. Yes.
One of Time Magazine's 100 best fantasy books of all time.
Yeah.
That's big accolades
about it.
Man.
That's pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I read the sample already on Kindle and I thought it was good. I thought it was a good start. So I'm excited. I'm like, yes, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so
I haven't done that yet, but I love a good fantasy, so let's do it.
Yeah, so that starts March 1st. So again, join Shelf Addiction Official if you want to talk about it with us in the group at the end of March. So we'll be in our little private chat, members only. So
at the end of March, you can get on a Facebook video chat with all three of us and talk about your favorite parts of the book, what you loved, what you hated. If it's been your favorite series for 10 years and you want to tell us why or ask us why we haven't read it before now.
Dish on plot holes with Casey.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's always a good thing.
Chance. See if you can trip Casey
only.
with a plot hole. See, did you spot a plot hole that Casey missed?
Stop Casey with plot holes.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do the thing. So join us over there on Shelf Addiction Official and be part of this good time. So I think we've reached the end. Oh my God. And I still have champagne left. What the heck?
I know.
See, this is much, I don't know if you can see it. This is much paler than it was when it started. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah, it is a little pale. Yeah, I see. Oh, yeah. That's how I like it. I like it very pale or none at all.
Yes, just a little whiff of orange juice.
Mm-hmm. That's how I like my mimosas during brunch. Like, just enough to color it. That's it. Just change the shade a little bit. That's all. I don't need all the sugar. I want, Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about. I don't need all that sugar. Just give me the alcohol with a little flavor. Anyway, so we've reached the end of today's episode. If you are still listening, we appreciate you for being here and spending your time with us today.
We love you.
And and get excited. Grab your books. Go to the bookstore. Order from Amazon.
The library.
Order from the library. I mean, at this point, it's going to be announced before you hear this in Shelf Addiction Official. So, it might be late to get it on ebook from the library because most of the time they have like 20 weeks wait time nowadays, on almost everything. Everything has a ridiculously long lead time, at least with my library anyway. But that's another reason you should join the group. You'll know before the podcast comes out.
There you go. Yeah.
Yep.
There you go. Yeah. So that is it, you guys.
Thank you
for celebrating.
Thank you for 4 glorious, amazing years.
Yes.
Here's to 4 more years.
Yes.
Cheers, ladies.
Cheers.
Yes. Okay, guys, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Until then, take care of yourselves. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's episode and would like to show your support, there are a few things you can do. Head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave a positive 5-star review, or like this episode on your favorite podcast player. It seems so simple, but it really helps me out. You can share this podcast with other book nerd friends or on your favorite social media space. You can also join the Shelf Addiction Patreon family. For as little as $2 a month, you will help us produce even more awesome content for your ears. You can also consider joining the Shelf Addiction Official Facebook group, where we talk all things bookish and more in a safe space. The Shelf Addiction Podcast is a part of the Nerdy Maven Network. You can also reach us via email at info@shelfaddiction.com. Thank you for listening.